know that most of what you've seen, read, or heard about Billy the Kid is untrue? My name is Gale Cooper. I'm a medical doctor and forensic psychiatrist. My specialty is murder case consultation for the defense. For 20 years, I've used my expertise to uncover the real Billy the Kid. Researching over 40,000 pages of archival documents and books, I've written the revisionist history. It's shocking, it's liberating, and I've written books demolishing the hoaxes, hijacking the history. My talks will share with you what I've found. Cover-ups, misinformation, and fakery, to use Old West lingo, will bite the dust. This revisionist history talk discusses Pat Garrett's reward for killing Billy the Kid. The information is from my book, The Coroner's Jury Report of Billy the Kid, the inquest that sealed the fame of Billy Bonney and Pat Garrett. On July 15, 1881, the day after he killed Billy Bonney, Pat Garrett sent a letter with enclosed copy of that day's coroner's jury report to the territory's acting governor, William Rich. It gave the circumstances of the killing. It's discussed in Talk 37, linked below. That letter was quoted in the July 23rd Las Cruces Rio Grande Republican as Kid the Killer Killed, William Bonney alias Antrim alias Billy the Kid fatally meets Pat Garrett, the Lincoln County Sheriff. It stated, below is given Sheriff Garrett's report as made to Acting Governor Rich, which contains also the verdict of the coroner's jury, close quote. Stated was that the article had translated the report from the original Spanish. Garrett's letter's purpose was justifying his getting the $500 Billy the Kid award offered by past Governor Lew Wallace. That's almost $13,000 today. A sticking point which Garrett anticipated was the killing. Wallace's last offer, published in May 3, 1881, Santa Fe Daily New Mexican, after Billy's jailbreak, was for capture, not killing. It stated, Billy the Kid, $500 reward. I will pay $500 reward to any person or persons who will capture William Bonney, alias the Kid, and deliver him to any sheriff of New Mexico. Satisfactory proofs of identity will be required. Lew Wallace, Governor of New Mexico. To be noted is that there was no dispute of, quote, proofs of identity of the victim as Billy Bonney. The July 15, 1881 coroner's jury report confirmed that. Garrett's letter also addressed the identity issue by confirming that the original report was sent to the district attorney of the First Judicial District and enclosing its copy for acting Governor Rich. Garrett's letter to Rich justified killing instead of capture. He claimed self-defense. Garrett wrote, it was my desire to have been able to take him alive, but his coming upon me so suddenly and unexpectedly leads me to believe that he had seen me enter the room or had been informed by someone of the fact, and that he came there armed with pistol and knife expressly to kill me if he could. Under that impression, I had no alternative but to kill him or to suffer death at his hands. Close quote. The enclosed coroner's jury report copy gave the juryman's verdict of justifiable homicide because of that self-defense killing. A bonus was the juryman's backing the reward as, quote, he deserves to be compensated. But a technicality delayed Garrett's receiving the reward. To be noted, the Brushy Bill imposter hoax of Billy the Kid, which is covered in later talks, made up that Garrett wasn't given the reward because the coroner's jury report didn't exist, so the body was never identified. It alternatively made up that Garrett did get the reward through the legislature because the corrupt Santa Fe ring intervened to cover up no victim identification. In reality, the complication was that Lew Wallace had left his governorship in the territory on May 28, 1881. The reward was apparently his private offer, so acting Governor William Rich was uneasy about simply paying it with territorial funds. No concern was ever raised about the victim's identity or the rewards not being a dead or alive offer. Rich sought legal opinion about Wallace's private reward offer from William Breeden. Breeden was the proper prosecutor as district attorney of the First Judicial District and had received the coroner's jury report from Justice of the Peace Alejandro Segura, who wrote it. So Breeden had already agreed that Garrett's killing was in self-defense. Breeden was also Territorial Attorney General, so he could advise on converting the private reward to a territorial one. His being a major ringite would have ensured his having been satisfied by the coroner's jury report that anti-ring fighter Billy Bonney was dead. Garrett also met personally with acting Governor Rich on July 20th, as reported by July 21st Santa Fe Daily New Mexican. It described Garrett as accompanied by, quote, Honorable T.B. Catron, close quote. Apparently, ring boss Catron was the attorney representing Garrett for the reward. Rich himself, a ringite, was quoted as willing to pay the amount. The article confirmed that Rich had delayed payment to follow proper procedure. There was no question of victim identity. Acting Governor William Rich recorded William Breeden's input in his July 21, 1881 Executive Record Book 2 entry. It stated, in the matter of the application by Patrick F. Garrett for a reward claimed to have been offered May 1881 for the capture of William Bonney alias the Kid, Rich wrote that he'd confirmed the existence of Wallace's reward offer by getting an affidavit of its publication by Charles H. Green, the editor and manager of the Santa Fe Daily New Mexican. As an aside, the Brushy Bill imposter hoax lied wildly that Charles Green was Garrett's lawyer for a reward collection who hid the reports not existing by writing it himself. In reality, Rich, in his entry, confirmed the coroner's jury report's existence and Garrett's statement to his office. Rich then quoted Breeden's opinion. Breeden had stated, "This certainly appears to be the personal offer of Governor Wallace, and it seems he did nothing to indicate that it was intended as an executive act on behalf of and to bind the territory. If the reward should be paid, it is very probable that the legislature would approve the payment if so desired, and that no objection would be raised, or that it will provide for its payment if it remained unpaid at the next session thereof. But if the governor, meaning Rich, should now direct the payment of the claim, he would doubtless expose himself to the charge of misappropriation of the territorial funds." Close quote. So Breeden agreed it was Wallace's private offer and believed the legislature would convert it to a territorial reward for payment, but felt Rich had to wait for the legislative act to avoid using territorial funds himself before legislative permission. Rich concluded by concurring. He stated, "The opinion of the Attorney General appearing to be consistent with the law and the facts, decision is rendered accordingly, and the governor, meaning himself as stand-in, declines to allow the reward at this time, believing, however, that Mr. Garrett has an equitable claim against the territory for said reward. The action of this office will simply be suspended until the case can properly be represented to the next legislative assembly." Close quote. So Rich concluded that he had to delay paying until the deserved reward was converted by the legislature to a territorial reward. It may be noted that Rich apparently forgot that he had recorded Wallace's reward notice 8 months earlier when he was territorial secretary. On December 13, 1880, Wallace had presented it to him by letter. Wallace had written, "Be good enough to prepare a draft of proclamation of reward $500 for the capture and delivery of William Bonney, alias the Kid, to the sheriff of the county of Lincoln." Rich, on behalf of Wallace, then made its December 13, 1880 entry in Executive Record Book 2. He wrote, "Whereas William Bonney, alias the Kid, charged under indictment issued from the District Court in and for the County of Lincoln of the crime of murder committed in said county, and whereas the said William Bonney, alias the Kid, is a fugitive from justice, now, therefore, Lewis Wallace, governor of the territory, by virtue of the power and authority vested in me by the law, and believing the ends of justice will be served thereby, do hereby offer a reward of $500 for the apprehension and arrest of said William Bonney, alias the Kid, and for his delivery to the sheriff of Lincoln County at the county seat of said county." Close quote. Nevertheless, it was still debatably Wallace's private offer, so Rich's precaution of legislative intervention made the reward airtight. On February 18, 1882, the Legislative Act for the Relief of Pat Garrett was passed. It attributed delay to mere technicality. It stated, "Garrett is justly entitled to the above reward, and payment thereof has been refused by Acting Governor Rich upon a technicality." Note that the Brushy Bill hoax lied that payment was refused for no corpse identification. The act stated, "Whereas the governor of New Mexico did, on or about the 7th day of May, A.D. 1881, it was May 3rd, 1881, issue certain proclamation in words and figures as follows, to wit, I will pay $500 reward to any person or persons who will capture William Bonney, alias the Kid, and deliver him to any sheriff of New Mexico. Satisfactory proof of identity will be required." And whereas Pat Garrett was at that time sheriff of Lincoln County and did on or about the month of August, it was July, 1881, in pursuance of the above reward and by virtue of a warrant placed in his hands for the purpose, attempted to arrest said William Bonney, and in said attempt did kill said William Bonney at Fort Sumner in the county of San Miguel in the territory of New Mexico, and wherefore said Garrett is justly entitled to the above reward, and payment thereof has been refused upon a technicality. Therefore, be it enacted by the Legislative Assembly of the Territory of New Mexico that the Territorial Auditor is hereby authorized to draw a warrant upon the Territorial Treasurer in favor of Pat Garrett for the sum of $500 in payment of the reward of $500 heretofore offered by His Excellency Governor Lew Wallace for the arrest of William Bonney, alias the Kid. Ironically, when Governor Lionel Sheldon returned to the territory, he sent a February 14, 1882 letter to the legislature saying he himself would have paid Garrett's reward outright. He wrote, The case under consideration is too notorious and remarkable to be made a precedent for the refusal to pay for services performed substantially in compliance with the provisions of high authority. It is a claim which I think I should have paid if it had not been understood that the matter was to be referred to the legislature before it came into my hands. As mentioned, the Brushy Bill imposter hoax, without understanding the Santa Fe ring, lied that it helped Garrett get the reward despite no coroner's jury report proving victim identity since they controlled the legislature. The reverse was true. The ring would have wanted Garrett rewarded precisely because he killed Billy. The ring had wanted that anti-ring regulator dead as risking another Hispanic uprising like the past Lincoln County War battle. Since 1878, it had tried to kill him. Boss Catron's 1878 federal indictment of Billy for the murder of Andrew Buckshot Roberts was to block any territorial governor's pardon and hang him. Garrett's 1880 election as sheriff was to capture or kill him. Garrett's 1880 Secret Service elevation to Deputy U.S. Marshal was to give him territory-wide power to kill Billy. Billy's 1881 trial under ring-eyed Judge Warren Bristol sentenced him to death by hanging. And aiding Garrett's reward collection was ring boss Catron as his attorney and ring-eyed William Breeden as Attorney General. Proved was that the coroner's jury report got the highest level of ring approval. Trying to fool Catron and Breeden about the victim's identity would have been lethal, as Garrett, working for the ring, would have known. So the issue of Pat Garrett's collecting Lew Wallace's Billy the Kid reward ended up getting additional validation of the coroner's jury report for William Bonney by the head of the Santa Fe ring, the acting governor, the territorial attorney general, the governor, and the territorial legislature, with all agreeing that Pat Garrett killed Billy Bonney. Later talks will discuss old-timer Billy the Kid imposter hoaxes desperately lying in an attempt to jump the impassable hurdles of William Bonney's coroner's jury report and Pat Garrett's collection of his reward for killing Billy the Kid.